the witching hours?
So a cool little location in a small town in Virginia called Wytheville. It's over about, I'd say probably an hour and a half or so from Bristol. It's originally one of the five remaining Octagon houses in the United States. This one is on Main Street in Wytheville, 585 Main Street, Virginia. It's called the Octagon Mansion at 585. Um, our friends there have John Cushman and Debbie Cushman have taken and restored that house. They're still in the process of restoring that house, which was started being built in 1870, finished being built in 1877. Turned it into a fantastic museum. Host a very unique event called Dinner with a Ghost, where you get to come in and enjoy a four-course meal with the spirits of the house.
That sounds cool.
Lots of food.
Lots of food. And then after they feed you like meat and potatoes and salad and cheesecake, they're like, great, now we're going to investigate for fun.
And try to stay awake.
And try to stay awake.
Yeah.
It's always a unique location. The history of the house, I think, I forgot how much stuff he said he had, spans from the Revolutionary War all the way up through World War II. He covers everything that he can possibly cover. It's a private collection that he brought with him from Las Vegas when he moved out here. And John Cushman has a unique history himself. He was the Forrest Gump of the 70s. He actually ran across the United States for,
Wow.
I think it was the March of Dimes. So he was, he's been on a couple TV shows actually back in the 70s, kind of highlighting his jog across America.
The real life Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and he's somewhat involved with bringing Gold Vein to the forefront. He used to do Dinner with the Ghost out in Las Vegas, and we got out to Gold Vein and brought some attention out there and did that. So it's a very unique location. He's a very unique individual.
That sounds cool. So what kind of paranormal things happened while you were at the Octagon Mansion? You hinted that it was a lot of things.
It was. It was.
Nick's got a new boyfriend.
I know. It started off with this was I think a first. So when we do the events, like I was stationed in what's called the Reverend's Library. It was not the Reverend that was there, but we did. When you do these things, you don't know who you're interacting with, right? And you try to figure out. But it's not very common that you actually get a name. But this time we did. So it started off though, it was kind of quiet or whatever. But then I bent over, I leaned over to get something out of my case, and all the equipment started going off. So I just made a joke. I said, "I like it when I bend over," and it just went downhill. It was just off the charts after that. So the spirit was like interacting with joking, with laughing, with a lot of flirtation, and it was funny and then John came in, and it picked up even more. And that was the theme actually throughout the night, Friday night and Saturday night. It was feeding off of our, I don't know if it's us being a couple or our energy, but it was definitely, and there were multiple energies. It wasn't just one person. We actually did get a name, but it was flirtation. So I started saying, instead of dinner with a ghost, I'm gonna have a date with a ghost, and all the but it was manipulating our radios on command, and it only happened in that room, nowhere else.
Wow.
It was, and then I'll let you tell the fantastic, the one that we just went.
The head turn.
The one we're like, what just happened?
One of the things we always try to do when we go out, and of course this was a public event that we did with Haunted Nights Paranormal Events. So this actually occurred during one of the rotations between groups. And me and Lynn always believe that when you go into these locations, your energy has a lot to do with the activity that comes. If you're free-spirited, lighthearted, and happy, then you are rewarded for that. If you come in with, pessimism, negative energy, then you reap what you sow.
Closed off.
Yeah.
People if you're just closed off. You can be quiet, but if you're like shut down, that'll interfere too.
Yeah, but we were in the what would have been the original dining room of the house in the
Right.
70s. And we believe it was converted to the library of Reverend Snow, who built the house and is believed to be one of the spirits there. We had a break during one of the rotations where nobody was in that area. So me and Lynn, we had some good activity there. Me and Lynn went back and we're just sitting there kind of talking and interacting with the spirit in that room. Lynn was sitting in a chair on one side of the room and I was sitting in a chair in the other. And it was one of those old lamps that had the little knob on it. You have to click it.
Like to turn the switch.
Like click, click to turn it on and off. It wasn't a push button or a touch. And we're just sitting there, and we had a REM pod on the desk, and a REM pod is actually a proximity detector that we use, and what we call a paranormal music box, which also is a motion-activated music box.
This is the original, I think.
That uses thermal as well as shadow detection, and when it detects that, it'll start playing a little tune.
That's cool.
The REM pod went off. The music box went off, and then the lamp on the table next to Lynn, we heard it click and it cut on.
Whoa.
The knob actually,
and I stood up and went,
and the lamp. And it was weird because, you're sitting in the dark and all of a sudden you're sitting in the dark. Lynn jumps up out of the chair and's like, what's going on? And I'm looking at her, and it took like 5 seconds for me to process that lamp just cut on by itself.
By
and
itself.
I heard it click.
Wow.
yeah, it was funny because, I mean, you're like you said, you're sitting there in the dark, and it first thing in your head is like someone must have snuck in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, wait a minute, it's right here beside me. Because a light, right, is normal for us, right, to have a light on. But it was so funny when it clicked on. And when you play it back on the recording, you can hear the light switch go click.
Along with some other
Long choice for
words. And it's just like anything else. When you're sitting in a room and somebody walks in the room and turns the light on, you immediately turn around to say, hey, who turned the lamp on? And I did just that. I was like, who turned the lamp on? The lamp went on by itself.
It was wild. Yeah, it was freaky because, like I said, I jumped up and I looked at us. It did, like you said, we did. We're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
The light just came on.
It's one of those things that was just like, it was so cool. It's like seeing a door open on its own, or an apparition walk across, and your brain tries to process it, and then finally it clicks. It's like, wait a minute, we're paranormal investigators. That's not right. That's not right.
But that was kind of like the theme the whole weekend. Like I said, it was. We really feel like we were dealing with multiple energies there. The assistant, that's what started it, was the Reverend's business associate that you were looking up. That's kind of what started. We got his name. He said, I'm Crush. And because his name was Mr. Crush.
That would have been a good EVP to play tonight. If it hadn't happened last night, I'd have seen it.
Yeah.
You haven't had time to go through all that stuff.
But yeah, it was funny because that was the whole thing. Like, but it did. It started manipulating equipment on command, and we would ask it. And then in that same area, we had at the end last night, there was, I don't say he was a child, probably 14, maybe, I don't know. He was sitting there, but I kept, every time I looked over at him, there was twice, I look over, and just wanted to shake my head, and I was like, okay, I saw a man stand behind him, and my first thought is, okay, I don't know, somebody from the event, walked. But then the kid, before I said anything, he stood up. He goes, somebody's behind me.
Wow.
And I said, yep. I said, I just saw him. And then what we asked, we said, were you out there in the hallway just now? And it was almost like the same thing. It was just a rush of all this energy. Everybody felt this cold chill come through the room. All the equipment went off. And at the end, we were asking, since everybody was hoping that they could see the light turn on, right? Or something happened. Yeah. And we did. The cord, right, to the speaker. The speaker sitting beside me for like the longest time. It's the one I used to play back EVPs. And John's like, he was facing away from me, and he goes, "Did that cord just move?" And I kind of saw it, right? And then we were like, "Did you do that?" And boom, the cord just dropped off the floor, or dropped down the floor. But and at the end, though, when we had both REM pods, we were like, we're talking about energy, how they can use that. The REM pods were just going off back and forth with each other. It was like almost like a little musical dance there. And it was like he or she was trying to gain all this energy. And at the end, when we were packing up, we didn't notice this until we were picking everything up. But they did do something. A picture had fallen over on the desk where nothing was around it. Nobody touched that area. There was no equipment there. There was nothing that could have knocked it over. So, but that was like the whole weekend. I was on command. There was a lot of joking. They loved jokes. They didn't like John's jokes.
Did not like that joke.
His jokes were bad. But when there was a funny one, the equipment would go off. That was what was so funny. But and then when we started talking about jealousy,
Oh yeah.
talked about jealousy, that's when and everybody could feel like the energy shift. And I said, I think this is a woman now. Because we said, Mrs. Crush is here. She's mad that her husband's with me.
My wife of 24 years.
So we had this fun with that about flirting around and the jealousy, and then there was there was something dynamics playing off the two of us, and I think it was new for us, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, the whole it was really stronger if both of us were in the room, which was it's happened on occasion, but that one was pretty different. It was neat. It was
Sounds
fun.
like a really.
I get excited when stuff like that happens. Like you talking about geeking out, that's not like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like it was a very eventful weekend.
We try to make them all the time.
So we're
But
gonna.
that place is known for poltergeist activity. So.
Oh, okay.
And, that makes me think, something about this. You were talking about, the light turning on, you just kind of turn around and be like, hey, who turned on the light? And I think that's one of the things for people who haven't had these kind of experiences before, or don't think they've had these kind of experiences before. I've noticed just with myself, it can be very easy. I think like the human mind sometimes just logically kind of skims over it. Like it's like a glitch in the matrix or something. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, oh, I don't know what happened there. And like, unless you actually, I think for me at least, sometimes take that moment to go, how did that actually happen? Like then that's when it's like, when it clicks and you go, oh man, there's something going on here.